Your life is only as big as your thinking. Read that again. Let it hit. Because it might be the most brutally honest sentence you hear this entire year. People don't fail because they're incapable. People fail because they think too small, dream too small, act too small, and surround themselves with people who expect them to stay small. But you pressed play on something different, something bigger, something that whispers, there's more for you than the life you're currently living. Welcome to Think Big, Earn Big, The Magic of Thinking Big, full audiobook. In the next 90 minutes, you will discover why the rich, the successful, the extraordinary are not superhuman. They don't have better genetics. They don't have more luck. They don't even have more opportunities. They simply learned how to think bigger, earlier, consistently, and with intention. And you can learn it too. Because big thinking is not a gift. It's a skill, a strategy, a muscle. And today, we start training it. Chapter 1. Small thinking destroys big lives. Before we continue, I want to say, my dear friend, if you are watching this video, then you are definitely on the right track. Like, subscribe, and write in the comments which topic or problem interests you the most. Let's begin with the truth most people never want to look at. Your mind builds a cage long before life does. Small thinkers don't need enemies. They sabotage themselves with doubt, hesitation, and excuses. They say things like, I could never do that. People like me don't get those opportunities. What if I fail? And the worst one, be realistic. Realistic thinking is the graveyard where big dreams go to die. Nobody who changed the world was realistic. Nobody who built wealth was realistic. Reality is flexible. Reality bends to the person who refuses to accept the limits handed to them. You are not stuck because of circumstances. You're stuck because of a thought you keep believing. But here's the moment everything shifts. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You rise to the level of your thinking. So if your thinking expands, your income expands, your confidence expands, your opportunities expand, your entire world expands. Let me tell you something the great achievers know. Big thinking is an act of rebellion. It's the refusal to accept the life others expect you to live. It's the decision to upgrade your mindset even when your environment hasn't changed yet. It's the courage to imagine more when your current life shows less. The magic of thinking big begins here. Your thoughts are the blueprint. Your actions are the builders. Your life is the result. So the question becomes, what blueprint have you been building? Not what you say you want, but what you secretly expect. Big thinkers expect more. And because they expect more, they behave differently. Chapter 2. Self-belief. The first $1 million habit. Let's be clear. The first step toward wealth is not a business plan, not a strategy, not a mentor, not capital. It's self-belief. If you don't believe you can earn big, no strategy will save you. If you do believe you can earn big, no obstacle will stop you. Self-belief is the foundation. Everything else is construction. But here's the truth people avoid. Self-belief isn't something you find. It's something you build. You build it through daily repetition, intentional self-talk, small wins, disciplined action, and refusing to shrink yourself for anyone. The people in your life may doubt you. That's normal. You may doubt yourself. That's expected. But don't ever let doubt be the final voice in your mind. There is a line every millionaire crosses at some point. I no longer negotiate with my limitations. That is the moment your life splits. Before that moment, your dreams feel impossible. After that moment, your dreams feel inevitable. You're closer to that moment than you think. Chapter 3, The Rule of Big Thinkers. Never limit your imagination. Look around. Everything you see, your phone, your clothes, the building you're in, the technology you use, was once only a thought, a fantasy, a wild, unrealistic idea living inside someone's mind. Every invention, every breakthrough, every fortune started as nothing more than imagination. And yet, most people use their imagination to shrink their world instead of expand it. They imagine failure. They imagine embarrassment. They imagine being judged. They imagine the worst and then call themselves realistic. But the ones who win, the ones who build big lives, they use imagination like fuel. They picture the goal, the lifestyle, the person they become, the level of impact they create. And then the imagination pulls them forward. If your imagination is small, your life becomes small. If your imagination expands, your life must follow. This audiobook isn't about fantasy. It's about power. The power of thinking so big, your old identity can't survive it. Because here's the secret. The bigger you're thinking, the smaller your excuses become. When you think small, obstacles feel overwhelming. When you think big, obstacles feel temporary. When you think small, you break under pressure. When you think big, pressure makes you stronger. When you think small, you act like a victim. When you think big, you act like a creator. And that shift, that's the birth of the millionaire mindset. Chapter 4. Winning starts before the work begins. Here's a truth almost no one teaches. Winners win mentally before they win materially. The work is the second step. The mindset is the first. Before the millionaire makes $1 million, they already think like someone who earns $1 million. Before the champion wins the trophy, they already feel like a champion. Before the leader inspires followers, they already see themselves as someone worth following. Big thinking is not positive thinking. Positive thinking is hoping. Big thinking is planning. Big thinking says, I will become the kind of person success has no choice but to chase. Because that is how it works. Small thinkers chase success. Big thinkers attract it. Chapter 5. The belief that rewrites your future. Let's go deeper. Because big thinking isn't just about imagining better outcomes. It's about believing you deserve them. Most people don't struggle with goals. They struggle with deservingness. They say they want wealth, but inside they whisper, who am I to have that much? What will people think? Why would success choose me? And that hidden dialogue, that silent insecurity, caps their entire life. But here's the truth big thinkers finally accept. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you believe you deserve. Your subconscious mind is the gatekeeper of your life. If it thinks something is too big, it will sabotage you every time. That's why some people start strong and quit quickly. Why some take a step forward, then 2 back. Why some repeat the same year of their life 10 times in a row. Your subconscious isn't the enemy. It's simply following your instructions. Instructions created by years of small thinking. But today, you begin rewriting the code. Say this silently. I am allowed to want more. Now louder inside your mind. I am allowed to think big. Again, with conviction. Big goals are meant for me. This audiobook isn't entertainment. It's reprogramming. Because once you update the internal belief, the external reality must follow. Chapter 6. Think big in a small-minded world. Let's be honest. Thinking big is easy. Thinking big around small thinkers is the real challenge. Because the moment you start talking higher goals, people will question you, doubt you, laugh at you, warn you, minimize you, not because you're wrong, but because your courage threatens their comfort. Small thinkers don't hate big thinkers. They fear them. You represent the possibility they never pursued, and that stings. So they'll say, don't get ahead of yourself. Be careful. That's risky. I knew someone who tried that and failed. And if you're not grounded enough, their fear becomes your fear. But big thinkers understand something critical. You cannot take advice from someone who's never been where you're going. The people who built great lives were doubted longer than they were celebrated. That's the cost of vision. That's the price of expansion. That's the tax for dreaming bigger than your surroundings. If you're going to think big, you must prepare for this truth. Your dreams won't make sense to most people. They're not supposed to. Vision isn't democratic. It doesn't need approval. It only needs commitment. Remember this: the airplane looks impossible to the person who has never left the ground. Your thinking must rise above the altitude of the people who limit themselves. Chapter 7. Big thinking starts with big questions. Big thinkers ask different questions, not how do I survive, but how do I multiply, not how do I get by, but how do I maximize, not what can I do, but what am I truly capable of. Here are the 3 millionaire-making questions that nobody teaches. 1. What is the biggest version of this goal? Most people aim for the minimum viable version of success. Big thinkers aim for the maximum they can envision. 2. What would this look like if it were easy? Big thinkers don't complicate. They simplify. They streamline. They remove friction so action feels inevitable. 3. Who must I become for this goal to feel normal? Because when your identity upgrades, your results upgrade automatically. You don't chase success anymore. You evolve into the person success naturally arrives to. These 3 questions, if asked daily, stretch your thinking to a new dimension. Because small thinkers focus on problems. Big thinkers focus on possibilities. When you widen your questions, you widen your life. Chapter 8. The Environment of Giants. Let me give you a truth most people avoid. Your environment shapes your thinking faster than your discipline does. You can have big goals, but if you live in a small-minded environment, you will shrink to match it. This is why. Mediocre friends produce mediocre dreams. Negative people create negative thinking. Gossip circles produce weak ambitions. Fearful people transfer fear. Lazy people normalize laziness. Your environment is contagious, but so is ambition. So is hunger. So is excellence. This chapter is your wake-up call. Stop spending your life around people who aren't going where you're going, because here's the formula of growth. Your life expands to the size of the people you surround yourself with. You need people who make you uncomfortable, not because they criticize you, but because their standards are higher than yours. You need people who remind you you're capable of more. Your goals aren't crazy. Your dreams are valid. Your thinking should stretch, not shrink. Big thinkers don't compete with their circle. They rise with their circle. But if your circle is small-minded, your life becomes small by default. Choose your environment intentionally, because it is the soil of your growth. Chapter 9. The Fear of Thinking Big. Let's confront something deep. Most people are not afraid of failing. They're afraid of becoming someone unrecognizable. Big thinking forces you to shed the old version of yourself. The comfortable version, the predictable version, the version other people got used to. That's why thinking big feels scary, because it threatens the identity you've been carrying for years. But let me tell you a truth, the world rarely says out loud, you cannot become extraordinary by staying loyal to your former self. The life you want requires a different identity, a different mindset, a different circle, a different level of courage. Thinking big is not dangerous. Staying small is. Fear is not a stop sign. Fear is a compass. It points you exactly where your biggest growth is waiting. If your goals don't scare you at least a little, they're not big enough. Before we continue, ask yourself one final question for this chapter. Are you ready to let go of the version of you that thinks small? Because the next chapters will push your thinking so far that your old limits won't survive it. Chapter 10, When Your Mind Finally Expands. There is a moment on every growth journey that cannot be fully explained, only experienced. A moment when the mind clicks, when the old limits dissolve, when your thoughts begin operating on a higher frequency. It feels like clarity. It feels like possibility. It feels like someone opened a window in a room you lived in for years. And suddenly you realize the world is bigger than you thought, and you can take more from it than you ever believed. This chapter is about that shift. Big thinkers don't force themselves into greatness. They simply break the mental ceiling that kept them small. And once the ceiling cracks, life expands fast. Here's the truth you're beginning to understand. Your potential was never the problem. Your thinking was. When the mind expands, the life follows. Effort starts feeling purposeful. Decisions feel aligned. Action feels lighter. Opportunities begin to appear where there were none. This is not magic. It is mental alignment. For years, you were thinking about what you could lose. Now you're thinking about what you could build. That shift alone rewrites your future. Most people never reach this level because they never question their mental limits. You are questioning them. You are breaking them. You are outgrowing them. And that is the beginning of thinking big. Chapter 11, Seeing Opportunities Before Others Do. Big thinkers have a unique advantage. They see potential long before the crowd recognizes it. While average thinkers wait for permission, big thinkers create the opportunity themselves. This is the difference. Average thinkers need things to be obvious. Big thinkers spot value early. Average thinkers wait for signs of success. Big thinkers invest in the seed before it becomes the tree. Average thinkers need guarantees. Big thinkers trust their vision. This is why people say someone was lucky. They weren't lucky. They were early. They acted at the moment when everyone else hesitated. They said yes to things others couldn't see yet. This is the point. Opportunities don't disappear. They simply move to the person willing to think bigger. There are always open doors, but most people are staring at the floor. When you think big, you raise your eyes. You see a bigger horizon. You realize the world is full of possibilities waiting for someone bold enough to claim them. Your new life begins the moment you stop waiting for the perfect opportunity and start shaping opportunity from whatever you have. That's what big thinkers do. Chapter 12. Big thinking demands big environments. Let's talk about an uncomfortable truth. Your dream is only as strong as the environment you plant it in. Big thinking cannot survive in small conversations, low expectations, negative circles, environments built on fear, rooms where ambition is mocked. You can outgrow habits. You can outgrow beliefs. But the hardest thing to outgrow is people. People who are comfortable staying where they are will never understand someone determined to outgrow everything. This is why you feel different, why you feel like you don't fit in anymore, why old conversations feel boring, repetitive, draining. Your mind is evolving. Your environment is not. Here's the rule big thinkers live by. If your environment doesn't challenge you, it will limit you. The bigger your thinking becomes, the more uncomfortable small environments feel. That discomfort is not a problem. It's a sign of growth. So let this chapter free you of guilt. Outgrowing people isn't betrayal. Outgrowing people is alignment. You are not meant to stay in environments that shrink your potential. You are meant to step into rooms where ambition breathes. Chapter 13, Acting Big. Even before you feel ready. There's a misconception that big thinkers act boldly because they're confident. But the truth? They act boldly before the confidence arrives. Confidence is a result. Action is the trigger. This chapter breaks one of the biggest myths about success. You don't need confidence to think big. You need courage. Courage is doing the thing while you feel unsure, while your voice shakes, while your hands tremble, while your mind invents excuses. Courage is messy. Courage is imperfect. Courage is uncomfortable, but courage builds confidence. Confidence builds momentum. Momentum builds success. Here is what average thinkers don't understand. You don't wait for the perfect moment. You don't wait to feel ready. You don't wait for permission. You don't wait for fear to disappear. Big thinkers leap first, then learn mid-air, then land stronger. This is why they get ahead. Not because they're smarter, not because they're luckier, but because they act while others hesitate. Write this somewhere. Action expands thinking. Thinking without action shrinks it. If you want to think bigger, move bigger. Take action that scares you. Make decisions that stretch you. Say yes to things that force you to grow. Acting before you're ready is the secret doorway to your next level. Chapter 14, Letting Go of Your Old Story. Pause for a moment. What truth did you just realize about yourself? Share it. Awareness is the first step to transformation. Everyone has an internal story about who they are. I'm shy. I'm unlucky. I'm not good with money. I always struggle. I come from nothing. I'm not talented. I'm not meant to have more. These stories feel like truth, but they're just mental habits. They are the echoes of your past, not predictions of your future. Big thinking requires something most people never do. Letting go of the old identity that keeps pulling you backward. You cannot become a big thinker while clinging to beliefs built from small experiences. Your past shaped you, yes, but it does not define you. You can rewrite your identity starting today. From I hope things work out to I create results. From I can't do that to I can learn anything. From people like me don't become successful to people like me are unstoppable when focused. From I dream small because I don't want to be disappointed to I dream big because I refuse to stay small. Your identity is not permanent. Your story is not fixed. The moment you decide to think bigger, your story begins to evolve with you. Chapter 15, Living Big, the Behavior of Expansion. Thinking big is the spark. Living big is the fire. This chapter is where imagination becomes movement, where belief becomes behavior, where your mindset turns into measurable change. Most people think big thinking is about dreaming larger, but big thinking is actually about acting in ways that match the future you want. A big thinker doesn't wait for motivation. They create momentum. A big thinker doesn't shrink in front of challenges. They grow in response to them. A big thinker doesn't say one day. They say, today is the first day. Living big means you start carrying yourself like someone who expects success. Not hopes for it, not wishes for it, expects it. This expectation shifts the way you work, the way you speak, the way you prepare, the way you show up. You stop living reactively, you start living intentionally. And intentional living is the foundation of every major transformation. Because when intention becomes your operating system, your world begins to bend around your focus. Chapter 16, Big Thinkers Make Big Commitments. Here is something average thinkers never understand. A big life requires big commitments, not halfway effort, not maybe next week, not if I feel like it. Big commitments, the kind that stretch you, the kind that demand more from you, the kind that force you to grow into someone stronger. A small commitment leads to small progress. A big commitment leads to big results. This is why big thinkers commit before they have everything figured out. They know clarity comes from action. Solutions appear when you move. Strength develops under pressure. You don't need to know every step. You just need to commit to the journey. People who think small want guarantees. People who think big commit to growth. This commitment becomes magnetic. When you fully commit, the universe responds. People respond, opportunities respond, energy responds. Life bends toward the person who refuses to break. Chapter 17, Raising the Standard of Your Life. If you want to think big, you must raise your standards. Not in a dramatic or unrealistic way, but in a consistent, powerful way. Your standards determine your limits. Your limits determine your results. Ask yourself, what have you been tolerating that a big thinker would never accept? Low effort, low discipline, low quality relationships, low expectations of yourself, low energy environments, low value placed on your time. Write this down. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is the gap between your current standards and your future ones. Big thinkers upgrade their standards before their life changes. That's how life changes. Small thinkers wait for change to feel motivated. Big thinkers raise their standards and create change. Your new standards might include: you don't speak negatively about yourself. You don't gossip. You don't waste time arguing. You don't let fear make decisions. You show up prepared. You keep promises to yourself. You protect your focus. You do the work whether you feel like it or not. These standards become your identity, and identity drives destiny. When your standards rise, your life follows. Not sometimes. Always. Chapter 18, Surrounding Yourself with Expansion. You cannot think big alone. You need people who expand your vision, not shrink it. The fastest way to grow is to enter rooms where you are no longer the biggest thinker. Big thinkers gravitate to each other naturally because they operate at the same frequency of possibility. They challenge each other. They sharpen each other. They inspire each other. They expect more from each other. This is why stagnant environments feel suffocating. You were not meant to breathe recycled ideas. You were meant to breathe fresh ambition. Look at your current circle. Do they expand your mind or distract it? Do they push you forward or keep you complacent? Do they talk about dreams or do they complain about circumstances? Big thinkers seek out rooms where growth is normal, success is celebrated, and ambition is the baseline. They don't seek admiration. They seek elevation. And the simplest way to elevate your thinking is to sit at tables where the conversations are too big to ignore. Chapter 19. Big thinkers give themselves permission. Permission is one of the most underrated forces in human psychology. Most people are waiting for someone to say, "You can," "You should," "You're capable," "You're ready," "You deserve more." Big thinkers don't wait. They give themselves permission. Permission to try. Permission to fail. Permission to learn. Permission to become someone new. Permission to outgrow who they used to be. Permission to want something bigger. Permission to live a life others don't understand yet. You don't need approval. You need permission from yourself. Because once you give yourself permission to think bigger, your entire world expands with it. You start speaking differently, walking differently, planning differently, working differently. Life opens up because your mind finally opened up. The person who permits themselves to grow becomes unstoppable. Chapter 20. Thinking big is a daily practice. You don't think big once. You think big every day. Small thinking is the default. Big thinking is the discipline. And that discipline is what separates average results from extraordinary ones. Every day you recommit to bigger vision, bigger goals, bigger actions, bigger self-belief, bigger courage, bigger focus. Big thinking is the repetition of expansion. You stretch a little more each day. You dream a little bigger. You take a slightly bolder step. You choose a higher quality thought. Little by little, your thinking elevates so consistently that small goals no longer excite you, small dreams no longer tempt you, and small living no longer fits you. That is the transformation happening inside you now. Chapter 21. Big thinking creates big opportunities. Here is the truth nobody teaches you in school. Opportunities don't appear because you're lucky. Opportunities appear because you're ready. And the people who are ready are the ones who think bigger than their environment. Most people wait for opportunities. Big thinkers create them. They speak in ways that attract them. They move in ways that signal they're prepared. They radiate a mindset that says, "I am someone worth investing in." You've seen this in real life. Two people with the same skills, same age, same environment. But one attracts opportunities while the other doesn't. Why? Because big thinking sends a message to the world. I operate at a higher level. People notice it. Investors notice it. Employers notice it. Partners notice it. Life notices it. Opportunities don't show up randomly. They show up in response to your internal expansion. This is why thinking big isn't a motivational slogan. It's a strategy, a system, a trigger for the life you want to build. Once your thinking elevates, your opportunities expand automatically. Chapter 22. Big thinking rewrites your internal limits. Your biggest enemy in life has never been the world around you. Your biggest enemy has always been the limits inside you. Big thinking destroys those limits. When you think small, you protect yourself from risk. You protect yourself from uncertainty. You protect yourself from discomfort. But you also protect yourself from growth. Big thinking forces you to confront the internal beliefs that have kept your life small for years. You begin asking questions like, why do I doubt myself? Who told me I'm not capable? Where did this fear come from? What if I've been playing small my whole life? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are also liberating. Because big thinking is not about delusion. It's about accurate self-awareness. You become aware of your potential, aware of your strengths, aware of your capacity, aware that you have been shrinking yourself to fit environments that never deserved you. Thinking big is the moment you stop betraying your potential just to feel safe. And the moment you stop betraying your potential, your life begins to accelerate. Chapter 23, The Fear of Big Thinking. Many people say they want to think big, but what they're actually afraid of is what big thinking requires. Because thinking big demands that you abandon the identity you've outgrown, step into responsibility, risk being misunderstood, risk failing publicly, risk succeeding wildly. Success scares more people than failure. Failure allows you to stay the same. Success requires you to transform. Fear whispers, what if I'm not ready? What if I'm not good enough? What if people judge me? What if I lose everything? Big thinking replaces those questions with, what if I am ready? What if I'm capable of more than I've ever imagined? What if my life becomes something I never believed was possible? Fear will never disappear, but your courage will grow until fear becomes irrelevant. You don't remove fear. You overpower it with vision. Chapter 24, The World Expands in Proportion to Your Courage. This is one of the most important lessons in this entire audiobook. Your world becomes as big as the courage you bring into it. Courage unlocks opportunity. Courage expands your environment. Courage pushes the boundaries of your identity. You grow every time you face fear. You shrink every time you avoid it. This is why big thinkers grow so rapidly. They don't wait to feel brave. They take action while fear is still present. Courageful action changes your self-perception. Every time you act boldly, your brain rewires itself. I am the kind of person who does hard things. I am the kind of person who moves forward despite uncertainty. I am the kind of person who doesn't break. This identity is priceless. It's the foundation of all future success. Thinking big without courage is fantasy. Thinking big with courage is transformation. Chapter 25. Your thoughts create your future in advance. You don't think big just for inspiration. You think big because it creates your future. Every giant accomplishment in human history started as a thought that felt too big at first, but that thought became a blueprint. The blueprint became a plan. The plan became action. The action became results. Your thoughts are not entertainment. Your thoughts are architectural. You are building your future life with the thoughts you repeatedly choose today. When you think small, you build small rooms for your future to live in. When you think big, you build entire empires ahead of time. Big thinking gives your future space to grow. Chapter 26, Big Thinking Transforms Your Relationship with Time. Small thinkers wait for the right time. Big thinkers create the right time. Small thinkers ask, is this the perfect moment? Big thinkers ask, how can I make this moment perfect? Small thinkers say, I'll try when things calm down. Big thinkers know things never calm down. They align themselves anyway. Time becomes a tool in the hands of a big thinker. They understand. Every day is a chance to build. Every hour has potential. Every minute can be used intentionally. Small thinkers waste time because they don't value their future. Big thinkers use time wisely because they feel responsible for it. The moment you start treating time as valuable is the moment life starts treating you as valuable. Chapter 27, Big Thinking Demands Big Focus. Here is a secret that separates extraordinary achievers from the rest. Big thinking requires narrow focus. This is where most people lose momentum. They think big, but they try to do everything at once. millionaire thinkers focus. Billionaire thinkers hyper-focus. They pick one mountain and climb it relentlessly. They don't scatter their energy. They channel it, because big results don't come from doing many things. They come from doing the right things at full intensity. Focus multiplies effort. Focus accelerates progress. Focus amplifies intelligence. When you focus deeply, you accomplish in 1 year what others can't accomplish in 10. Thinking big is not about chasing all possibilities. It's about choosing the right one and committing fully. That is how giants are built. Chapter 28. Your future responds to your expectation. Expectation is one of the strongest forces in human behavior. Whatever you expect, you unconsciously work toward. If you expect disappointment, you act in ways that sabotage success. If you expect success, you act in ways that create success. Your expectation becomes your prediction. Your prediction becomes your identity. Your identity becomes your reality. Big thinking elevates your expectations. You expect growth. You expect improvement. You expect opportunities. You expect progress. You expect abundance. You expect a bigger life. Expectation is the silent architect of your destiny. When you expect greatness, your life has no choice but to rise to meet you. And now we stop right before we enter the most life-changing section of the entire audiobook, How Thinking Big Turns into Earning Big, How Vision turns into income, how belief turns into power. Chapter 29. How Big Thinking Turns into Big Earning. Dear viewer, please write in the comments what interested you most in the video. This will help us improve our videos. Here's the moment where everything shifts. Because big thinking is not just philosophy, it's economics, it's psychology, it's strategy. And here is the truth. Money follows value. Value follows vision. Vision follows thinking. If you cannot think bigger, you cannot see bigger opportunities. If you cannot see bigger opportunities, you cannot take bigger actions. If you cannot take bigger actions, you cannot produce bigger value. And if you don't produce bigger value, you cannot earn big. This is why the size of your paycheck will always reflect the size of your thinking. People don't get rich by accident. They get rich because their thinking opened doors that small thinking never could. Big thinkers don't ask, how do I make more money? They ask, how do I create more value for the world? And because they ask better questions, they get better answers, better opportunities, better strategies, and eventually, better results. Chapter 30. Thinking big shifts your perception of income. Small thinkers see income as a wish. Big thinkers see income as a system. Small thinkers focus on getting paid. Big thinkers focus on building something worth paying for. Small thinkers chase money. Big thinkers attract it. Here's the secret. Money flows toward clarity, confidence, and contribution. Big thinkers naturally embody all three. They move with intention. They speak with certainty. They bring value forward without fear. They create outcomes people want to be part of. This is why big thinkers often earn more without working more. They see opportunities that others are blind to. They connect dots others don't even notice. They solve problems others overlook. They step into roles others avoid. Your income grows as your contribution grows, and your contribution grows as your thinking expands. Chapter 31. Why Big Thinkers Attract More Money. There is a money truth most people don't understand. Money is attracted to leadership. Leadership is not about control. It's about direction. It's about vision. It's about clarity. People follow those who see further. People trust those who believe bigger. People invest in those who think boldly. This is why individuals with big thinking rarely stay broke. Even if they start with nothing, their mindset ensures they won't stay there. Think about it. Who gets promoted? Who gets investment? Who gets partnerships? Who gets responsibilities? Who gets opportunities? Not the loudest, not the smartest, not even the hardest working. The ones who rise are those who see more. And seeing more begins with thinking big. Chapter 32. Big thinkers solve problems. Small thinkers avoid the marketplace rewards problem solvers. Every dollar you make is tied to a problem you solved. Small thinkers solve small problems. Big thinkers solve meaningful problems, the kind that change lives, businesses, or systems. Here's why this matters. A small thinker says, I don't want problems. A big thinker says, give me the kind of problems that require greatness. This mindset is the dividing line between ordinary and extraordinary. When you approach problems with fear, you shrink your potential. When you approach problems with ambition, you expand your income. Write this down. Your wealth depends on the size of problems you are willing to solve. When you think big, you see problems as opportunities instead of obstacles. That shift alone separates beginners from achievers and achievers from leaders. Chapter 33. Big thinking creates momentum. Momentum doesn't happen by accident. It builds when your vision is so large that your actions can't help but rise to meet it. Here's a secret very few people understand. Momentum is emotional, not mechanical. You act differently when you're inspired by a giant vision. Your energy is higher. Your focus is stronger. Your discipline is deeper. Your persistence is unshakable. Small thinking requires constant willpower because you're dragging yourself toward a small goal that doesn't excite you. Big thinking fuels you. Big thinking wakes you up. Big thinking pulls you forward. This is why high achievers look obsessed. They are powered by momentum that small thinkers never experience. Your life changes the instant your vision becomes big enough to generate its own energy. Chapter 34. Big thinking builds a new identity. When you think big long enough, something powerful happens. You stop identifying with the limitations of your past. You stop identifying with the doubts of others. You stop identifying with the version of yourself that once accepted less. You become someone new, a person who expects growth, a person who expects progress, a person who expects opportunities, a person who expects abundance. People will notice the change before you do. They'll say you're different, more confident, more direct, more intentional, more powerful. And they'll be right. Because big thinking is not just about goal setting. It's about identity shifting. You do not become successful because you earn more. You become successful because you become someone who can earn more. This is the real magic of thinking big. You rise into a higher version of yourself. Chapter 35. Big thinking requires you to outgrow your environment. You cannot think big while staying in an environment that punishes big thinking. Some people are threatened by your vision. Some people are intimidated by your growth. Some people prefer you small because it keeps them comfortable. But listen closely. Your environment is either your prison or your platform. Big thinkers understand this. They choose environments that challenge them, stretch them, and elevate them. Sometimes that means changing your circle. Sometimes that means changing your habits. Sometimes that means changing your beliefs. Sometimes that means changing your entire life. Growth always demands a departure. You cannot become who you are meant to be while staying where you are no longer meant to remain. This is the price of thinking big, but it is also the reward. Because once you outgrow your old environment, your new one expands your future instead of limiting it. Chapter 36. Big thinking is a daily practice, not a single decision. You don't think big once. You think big every day. It's not a switch. It's a discipline. It's a habit. Every morning you choose expansion over fear. Every morning you choose growth over comfort. Every morning you choose potential over excuses. This is how empires are built. Not through occasional motivation, but through consistent elevation. The biggest thinkers in the world practice their vision every day. They visualize, they plan, they strategize, they review, they adjust, they refine, they act. Big thinking becomes easier the more you do it. Your brain adapts, your decisions improve, your courage rises, your opportunities multiply. This is why thinking big is the foundation of every high-achieving life. Not because it's flashy, but because it's foundational. Chapter 37. The Habits of Big Thinkers. Big thinking doesn't survive without structure. It needs habits. The kind of habits that consistently feed the mind, expand the imagination, and reinforce belief. Here's the truth many never hear. Success is rarely about talent. It's almost always about habits. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your habits. And big thinkers consistently practice habits that keep them in the realm of possibility, not limitation. Let's explore the core habits. 1. They ask bigger questions. Small thinkers ask, how do I get by? Big thinkers ask, how do I grow beyond anything I've done so far? Small questions create small lives. Big questions create big futures. 2. They surround themselves with possibility. Energy is contagious. So is limitation. Big thinkers curate their environment so their mind is exposed to inspiration, solutions, and ambition. They absorb stories of achievement, study people who broke boundaries, listen to voices that elevate their thinking. 3. They protect their focus. Big thinkers do not scatter themselves. They do not drown in distractions. They do not chase every shiny thing. They know that clarity creates power, and power creates results. 4. They act before they feel ready. Small thinkers wait for confidence. Big thinkers build confidence through action. This habit alone transforms careers, businesses, lives. Acting before readiness is how every breakthrough begins. 5. They think long-term in a short-term world. Big thinkers don't just ask, what does this give me today? They ask, what will this build for me over the next decade? This is why they win. They play a game most people never even see. Chapter 38. Why most people never think big. Let's talk about the barrier you've felt your entire life, but never had the language for. Most people don't think big not because they are incapable, but because they are conditioned not to. Conditioned by fear, conditioned by failure, conditioned by comparison, conditioned by upbringing, conditioned by society's ceiling. Most children dream huge. Most adults dream tiny. What happened? Somewhere along the line, life trained them to shrink. They were told, be realistic. Don't get your hopes up. Play it safe. Keep your head down. Don't think too highly of yourself. And after hearing that for years, the big version of them faded away. But here is what makes this audiobook powerful. You are rebuilding the part of you that was trained to shrink. You are reawakening the thinker you were meant to be. You are unlearning limitation and returning to possibility. Because big thinking is not arrogance. It's alignment with your potential. Anyone can shrink. It takes courage to expand. Chapter 39. Big thinking requires big belief. No one has ever created a great life while doubting they could. Belief is the fuel of big thinking. Without it, the mind collapses back to safety. With it, the mind climbs into vision. But belief is not magic. It's not luck. It's not genetics. Belief is built, one decision at a time, one challenge at a time, one leap at a time. Confidence is simply evidence. Every time you take bold action and survive, your brain learns, I can handle more. I can grow more. I can achieve more. I can become more. This is why big thinkers consistently win. Their belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, not because the universe rewards them, but because they finally stopped getting in their own way. Think about this. You are one belief upgrade away from a completely different life. When your belief expands, your decisions shift, your standards rise, your circle changes, your opportunities grow. Belief is not the end result. It is the beginning of everything. Chapter 40. Big thinking demands a new standard for yourself. You cannot think big while living small. Your standards must evolve to match the life you want to live. This means you show up differently, you speak differently, you act differently, you expect differently, you tolerate differently. Big thinkers don't tolerate laziness, excuses, gossip, chaos, inconsistency, fear-driven decisions, environments that drain them, relationships that sabotage them. They know that every standard allowed becomes a lifestyle created. If you want a life of high achievement, you must demand a higher standard from yourself. Not perfection, not burnout, not obsession, just a standard that aligns with who you are becoming. Write this down somewhere. Raise your standards, and your results will rise with them. You can't think big while accepting what no longer matches your future. Chapter 41. The Power of Why Not Me. Most people look at success and think, that could never be me. Big thinkers look at success and whisper, why not me? This question changes everything. Why not me? Opens doors that it's impossible keeps locked. Why not me? Activates courage that fear tries to silence. Why not me? Invites opportunity your old self would have walked past. Every millionaire, every leader, every innovator was ordinary at the beginning. The only difference was that at some point they asked the question most people never dare to ask. Why not me? And when the brain hears that question enough times, it begins searching for answers. It begins learning. It begins adapting. It begins elevating. It begins becoming. This is why your internal dialogue matters. Your destiny is shaped by the questions you ask yourself daily. Small thinkers ask, what if I fail? Big thinkers ask, what if I become everything I'm capable of? That shift alone rewrites your entire future. Chapter 42. Big thinkers have big discipline. There is no big thinking without big discipline. People often misunderstand discipline. They think it's punishment. But discipline is power. Discipline is leverage. Discipline is freedom. Discipline is what makes your future predictable. Small thinkers rely on motivation. Big thinkers rely on systems. Small thinkers move when they feel like it. Big thinkers move because the plan says so. Big thinkers do not wait for inspiration. They generate it through action, structure, responsibility, and consistency. A big dream without discipline is just a fantasy. A big dream with discipline becomes a blueprint for transformation. Discipline is proof that you are serious about the life you want to build. Chapter 43, The World Expands When You Do. Most people think success changes your life. But the truth is deeper. Success changes because you change. The world you experience is a reflection of your inner expansion. When you think bigger, you make decisions differently. You handle challenges differently. You see opportunities differently. You respond to life differently. Your external world bends to the strength of your internal world. That is why personal growth is the most profitable investment you can ever make. Every book you read, every skill you learn, every habit you refine, every standard you raise, it all expands your world. Small thinkers wait for change. Big thinkers become the cause of it. Chapter 44. Your future can only grow as big as your self-image. Here's a truth that hits hard. You cannot out-earn, outbuild, or outperform the way you see yourself. Your self-image is the thermostat of your life. No matter how much external success you chase, the moment your achievements rise above your internal identity, you sabotage them. Quietly, subtly, unconsciously. People don't fail because the goal is too big. They fail because their identity is too small. If you believe deep down that you're meant for mediocrity, you will always find a way to drift back toward it. But if you believe genuinely that you are destined for more, your actions will begin to align with that destiny. This is the foundation of big thinking. Become the person who can hold the life you want. Not in the future, not after you make it. Now, act like it, speak like it, walk like it, think like it, decide like it. Your life will follow the identity you build. Chapter 45. Big thinkers don't fear failure. They use it. There is a secret among high achievers that most people never discover. Failure is not a stop sign. Failure is a directional sign. Small thinkers collapse when they fail. Big thinkers adjust when they fail. To them, failure is feedback, correction, redirection, evidence of movement, a sign that they are playing a big enough game. The people who think small aren't avoiding failure. They're avoiding growth. Big thinkers know this. If you fail big, you learn big. If you fail often, you grow fast. Every major success story you admire is built on a foundation of discarded attempts, imperfect versions, and messy progress. Failure doesn't make you less. It makes you ready. Write this into your mind. If you cannot tolerate failure, you cannot access greatness. Failure is the tuition for success, and the people who pay it willingly graduate into achievement. Chapter 46. The Mind of a Big Thinker, Logic versus Possibility. Please like and subscribe if you want a better future for your children, your family, and yourself. It's very difficult to achieve success today, but I'm sure you'll succeed. All you have to do is learn and discover new things. There are two ways to think. 1. Logic-based thinking. What is realistic? What's the safe option? What do other people expect? What are the rules? 2. Possibility-based thinking. What could this become? What if I go further? What if I rewrite the rules? What if I become the exception? Small thinkers live in logics. Big thinkers live in possibility. Logic keeps you safe. Possibility sets you free. Logic keeps you within the boundaries of what exists. Possibility invites you to create what doesn't exist yet. Chapter 63. Take up more mental space in your own life. This chapter is a turning point. Too many people think small because they treat themselves as a supporting character in their own story. They prioritize everyone else first. They silence their needs. They shrink their desires. They downplay their goals. They minimize their dreams. They behave as if their life belongs to everyone but themselves. Big thinkers reject this completely. They take up space in their own life. They allow themselves to want more. They allow themselves to dream boldly. They allow themselves to pursue what lights them up. They allow themselves to outgrow what no longer fits. They allow themselves to choose themselves without apology. When you take up more mental space, your ideas grow. Your confidence grows. Your identity grows. Thinking big requires believing that you deserve to be the main character in your own life, because you do. You always have. You just forgot. This audiobook is your reminder. Stop shrinking. Expand. Chapter 64, The Success Loop. Belief, action, result, proof. Big thinking becomes easier once you understand the loop that creates success. It works like this. 1. Belief. You believe something is possible before the evidence exists. 2. Action. That belief pushes you to take bigger actions than someone who doubts. 3. Result. Those bigger actions lead to better outcomes. 4. Proof. Those results become proof that your belief was correct. And then the loop strengthens itself. This is how momentum is built. This is how identity changes. This is how success compounds. Small thinkers destroy the loop early, before the belief forms or before the action occurs. Big thinkers let the loop run long enough to generate proof. This loop is not a motivational quote. It is a psychological mechanism, a behavioral engine. Let it work for you. Let it snowball. Let it build you into someone you once thought impossible. Chapter 65. You were not born to think small. Let this truth hit you. You were not born afraid. You learned fear. You absorbed it. You inherited it. You were trained into it. You were not born with limits. You were taught them. You adopted them. You were shaped by them. You were not born small. You were born infinite and slowly conditioned to think within lines that other people drew. But the fact that you are here, listening, learning, growing, proves something powerful. Your mind remembers that you were meant for more. If small thinking felt natural to you, you would not have made it this far. You would not crave expansion. You would not hunger for your potential. You would not feel that inner pull that says, "This isn't everything. There is more in me." That voice is not ambition. It is memory, a memory of the person you were always meant to become. Small thinking was taught to you. Big thinking is your original setting. Chapter 66. Now it's your turn to think big. This final chapter is not about inspiration. It's about responsibility. Because now you know. You know that mindset shapes your life. You know that small thinking creates small outcomes. You know that your environment influences your ambition. You know that courage expands your future. You know that belief activates action and action activates results. You know that big dreams require big habits. Big habits require big discipline. Big discipline creates big success. You know that the gap between who you are and who you want to be is filled with one thing: big thinking, acted upon consistently. You know all of this. So now the question becomes, what will you do with what you know? Will you go back to old patterns, old doubts, old limits? Or will you step into the identity you were meant to live? Will you think bigger, speak bigger, act bigger, and earn bigger? Because make no mistake, big thinking is not a motivational idea. It is a lifestyle, a discipline, a way of being. And if you choose it fully, intentionally, consistently, your life will expand in ways you cannot yet imagine. You don't need permission. You don't need the perfect moment. You don't need the full plan. You just need the willingness to step forward as the version of you who thinks big, and the world will make room. This concludes the audiobook, but not your transformation. Your future begins now, not tomorrow, not someday, now. Think big, earn big, live big, become big. Your new life is waiting.